Hi everyone, how's it going? This is M.L.S. Weech and welcome to another weekly episode of our book covers. What we do every week is we go through Amazon and we look at the book covers that stand out. We talk about why I like them so much, and then we talk about maybe ways to make them better. And then we let you vote on the ones you like below. Speaking of down below, would you please do me a favor? If you like this video, please click the like, the share button, the subscribe button, the bell notification button. And if you're really feeling generous, please do me the honor of going to my author link, which is also down below, checking out some of my books and seeing if you'd be interested in trying any of them out. I am an independent author. I write predominantly paranormal, sci-fi, fantasy, and I really love what I do. And one of the reasons I do this is because I enjoy looking at book covers, and I enjoy looking at artists and their work. And that's kind of how this all got started. My newest book, Betrayed, is currently available, and link for that is also down below. And I'm genuinely hopeful that you'll give it a try. Speaking of Betrayed, I am very honored to announce that the cover to Betrayed is actually the winner of the book cover of the month for the month of May. It is the May book cover of the month. I really want to thank the people who voted for it. I really want to make sure that I offer my appreciation. I also have to make sure that I thank Carlos. Carlos Vias is my illustrator. He's done an amazing job. He always does amazing work for me. And I definitely am so very glad that I met him. Interestingly, I met him when I was doing the book cover of the month on my blog through a bracket website, and he reached out to me. So thank you so very much for voting for my cover. It will move on to the 2021 M.L.S. Weech Book Cover of the Year competition, and we're well into the book covers for June. That means I also have to name the announcing cover for the June book cover of the week, and this will be for the week, the third week, I believe. Check it out here. Actually, we're not there yet. We're announcing the winner for week 2, and the winner for the book cover of the week for week 2 is A Clash of Fates by Philip C. Quaintrell. And I'm going to bring that up for you guys right here. There's the cover there. I really thought that this was a well done cover. I like the use of opacity to allow certain things to be more visible than others. I think the detail in the art is amazing. And honestly, I just think dragons are cool. So I'm probably going to like your cover if you got a dragon on it, as long as it's a pretty cool drawing of a dragon. So that means A Clash of Fates is the second book to move on. And we will continue announcing the future winners as we move forward. But what we're talking about right now are actually the nominees for week 4. And the first nominee for week 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, we got 7 covers. We're ready to go. The first nominee for the week 4 book cover of the month is actually going to be called A Glass Thief by Adam Aldis. And this cover is pretty cool. I don't typically like red font. I'm actually red-green colorblind. I can see the red there, but red is very hard for me to see. So I'm not typically a big fan of it. But look, when you put it up against a nice, clean black background, it's pretty interesting. I love images that have this kind of play with figure and ground. I like images that communicate. I like simplicity. And all of that means I'm a fan of this particular cover. I like that the figure, the silhouette in the back is positioned in a balanced way between the towers. And I like that they're making use of various zones. We got framing going on with the castle. So all of these things kind of really add up together. It's not the most complex design in the universe by any stretch of the imagination. But all these things really work together to give a nice, clear message. If I'm going to work on this, I don't mind the red highlights at all. But I might have gone with white as a font color myself, but that's because I have such of a bias with red. But at the very least, what I would do is there's this technique called kerning, which is the spacing between letters. I'd give those letters a little bit more space so that they're not bumped up against each other. I'm pretty sure it was intentional with the word thief, and I can swallow that. But you have the and thief that are all connected, and then you have glass that aren't. So I would have preferred either have them all link in some way or don't have any of them link in some way. Those are all very minor issues, though. So we can absolutely move on to the next cover. The next cover is a little interesting. Some people might cry foul because I try to have new covers. This is a new cover. It's just not a new book. This is the cover for the June 10th, I believe, release of Animal Farm by George Orwell. It is amazing. I love the font. I love the way the text is working around the pigs. I love the detailed illustration of the farm. I love the shouting. I love the placement of everything. Really, just everything about this cover is something that I appreciate. So to get into like design theory, which is something I try to do when I do these, is really how they use white space. So there's a lot of space around. Some people call it negative space. In this case, it's literally white space. But what's happening is the fact that there's so much space makes each of these individual elements really stand out all the more. The font isn't just words slapped on a text. Anyone can do that, so it's not impressive when you do it. But when you make the text on your design feel like a part of the design, you're better than the next guy, I promise. So the way they take Animal Farm and loop it around the upper page, they kind of squish it together and they kind of move it this way. It gives the image depth. Um, the same way the George Orwell text leads into the neck of the other pig. This is just amazing work, and there was no way I wasn't going to put it on there. And it is a new release. It's just one of those additions that people do when you're an author as accomplished as Orwell. I have read this book. I'm a huge fan of it. A lot of the times when I'm feeling kind of down in the dumps, or when I feel like the really only thing you can do is like buckle down and work harder. I remember Boxer every single time when I talk about that. So I'm always talking about, I am Orwell's Boxer. I will work harder. I know what happens to him at the end, and it doesn't affect my dedication. So I have a close personal affinity to that. There's a lot of bias going on in there, but it still doesn't make it a bad cover. The next one we'll talk about is a cover that I feel two ways about. I love the detail in this cover, but I just can't stand where that text is. So this book is called Hidden Darkness. And you would be able to know that if that text was literally anywhere else on this cover. So you have this wonderful art. You have this wonderful text. You have this wonderful pattern of smoke or hair going up and around through it. Notice the author cared enough about his name to put his name in a place people could read it. And I wish that individual thought equally, S.J. Stewart thought equally of it. You could literally take that text, make it black, and move it right next to the author text. And then you don't have, that's not even that, it's a Seven Realms book. So his author text, or I don't know the gender of this individual, but this individual's author text is also buried in there. So you have this wonderful art, and then you just ruin it by slapping text and letters all over it. I can't read the letters if I want to because there's all this stuff going on behind it, and I can't look at the art because there's all these letters in front of it. But if you're able to break apart these elements, you can still see that there are a lot of great things. So I want to compliment the art of it, even if I am really not a fan of the way the text is arranged, or the way that the data is put in there. I think it makes it harder to read, and I think it really kind of mars a great designer's hard work. But the work is still there to see. a lot of the elements, a lot of that still works very well. So it's worthy of note, but it's not my favorite. The next one we're going to talk about is called The Fort by Adrian Goldsworthy. And this is all about being clean and organizing information. So this image kind of looks like one I did a while back. And at first I thought, wow, have we already done this? But the image I'm thinking of was a bird on a barn. So again, there's not really a whole lot of originality in covers. There's style, and there are only so many styles. And then there's imagery, and there are only so many images you can have. And then when you add that, the complexity and how people tend to go to the same things with fantasy elements, then you're left with imagery that kind of lines up and looks kind of similar, but it is different. I'm still not a fan of red font, but it's still legible because it's on a clean white background, and that's completely fine with me. So you have all these poles, maybe it's the edge of a gate or a wall, directing right toward the bird in the center of the frame. So there's nice balance. There's nice the poles take you to the bird takes you to the text takes you to the subtext. The author's name gets a little muddy here and there, but it's still legible. You can still see it. It's just de-emphasized because the more important visual elements that tell the story are what we see there. So it's pretty solid work when you think about it in that respect. Pardon me. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're looking at how they arrange all these elements so that they hold everything together. And even though there's still a lot of negative space, and designers out there, don't clutter up your covers. You don't need 70,000 things. You just need to arrange everything on your space in a way that communicates and flows from one element to another. And this does that very, very well. So congratulations on that. The next cover we're going to talk about is a little more simplistic, and it's a cover called All That's Left from Jeff Carr. This image has more detail. It's more elaborate in what's going on. You have the two figures walking in there. I like having backlight. I think most things are improved with backlight, but there's some detail going on in the background. And then the figures are well rendered. What I want you to notice here is that this text, this author text that you see, All That's Left, interestingly, it's the dominant element. What I like is that you have that dominant element happening in the lower half of these figures' bodies. And so what it does is it allows the designer to emphasize the text and the title and name without being left with nothing but the text and the title. So even though there are more elements going on, they're still running everything together in a very efficient way, and that's nice. Maybe you bring out those background elements a little bit more. Maybe you do something a little more creative, like I like backlight, but that doesn't necessarily mean you should only have just a backlight. So there are a few things that you could do to improve it, but it's still a cover that got me to look at it. That's really kind of what we do here, the goal of what everyone is doing. This next one's all about a technique called framing. It's by Erin O'Kane, called A Lady of Embers. And this cover has nice framing, and it has nice contrast in its colors. You got this muted gray background. You got this arch going up here. So all eyes go right to this figure. So you have muted gray, perfect arc, and then this pink dress. And that's going to yank an eyeball to that figure. The dress flows down. I love the detail in the dress, by the way. I love the way the shadows fall and the way the light plays along it. Someone put a lot of love and a lot of effort into making that dress look like it's falling natural. And it flows down to the title text. Title text is a little bit hard to read if you're me. I don't know if you guys disagree. By all means, let me know in the comments down below. But for me personally, it's a little bit hard to read. I also think the light is a little flat, a little boring. I wish I had some more contrast in this particular image, but you still have nice use of color. You still have nice use of framing. You still have nice use of contrast. in the difference between the pink dress and the gray area. So all in all, you have a pretty nice image. That brings us to our last image of the week, and that is going to be The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Shuri. And so the first thing I like about this is the color. This is a very vibrant, very strong, very bold color, and so it's naturally going to draw the eye. The other thing I like about this is the style. It seems very oil painting like. The lines are harder and thicker. So whenever I see a cover and it's an artistic style that's unique, that's not something I see every day, it's much more interesting. It's much more fascinating. And that's what this one does. Kind of looks like something Kipling would have done with the Jungle Book. Um, so it really pulls from a lot of the right themes, and all of that comes together in a nice, beautiful way. The art is great. The use of color is great. The title text a little big for me, but they're doing this thing where they're boxing everything. They're creating a box visual element. So it's not my favorite thing, but it's still a very standard, well used, sturdy design technique where you have all the text elements kind of form this perfect little square that people can move. I don't know that I have a problem with it being a perfect little square. I just wish that that square was a little bit lower, so that it had its own space. Um, but that's a very small kind of issue to have. It's still a great cover. So that means we've kind of 7 covers as usual, and we always move kind of quickly. I'm not trying to take anyone's time further than it has to go, but I ask, please go down and vote for your favorite. Let me know your thoughts. Also, if you've seen a cover out there that you really like, don't be afraid to like tell me to go look at it, and uh, that way. I'm going to look at these covers anyway, and I'm just trying to find 7 that I think well of. And I do that usually. I start looking at covers on Friday, and then I record on Friday, and then I post a little on later on. So please, I hope you've enjoyed it. Come back and join me next week when we look at 7 more covers, and we start looking at covers for the month of July. And I hope you had a great time. God be with you.